Timmy the Traveler, Nefarious in New York. Unofficial Minecraft mystery and adventure series, written by Right Blocked. Narrated by Joseph Sweeney. Who is Timmy the Traveler? My name is Timmy, and I am one of the greatest explorers the world of Minecraft has ever seen. Why did I get into exploring? Well, like most things in my life, it all started with my birth. I was born into a family that I barely got to know. They sent me off to a boarding school at the young age of 2. Since then, I have never seen my parents. I hadn't heard from them at all during my time at boarding school, not even by a single letter. Until one day, the headmistress at my school came to talk to me. I remember that night perfectly. It was a stormy and dreary night, a kind that forebodes the tragic event that occurred. On that night, the headmistress told me that my parents were missing, and I was now considered an orphan. I suppose it was the mystery of my parents' disappearance, or maybe it was the fact I never knew them. Whatever it was, I was sparked with a sudden interest in archaeology, a love of studying the past and finding ancient artifacts of a time long past. Maybe the further I went looking at the past of the world, the further I could run from my own troubled past. How does an orphan like me become a world-famous archaeologist? 3 things: skill, luck, and penny. Growing up as an orphan, I learned to be independent at an early age. Without anyone telling me I couldn't, I was leaping off buildings and jumping into watery caves since I was a young child. I taught myself all the skills I needed to be an adventurer. After boarding school, I explored the world and got myself from one sticky situation into another. I was incredibly lucky. I found amazing treasures that are now placed in museums all around the world. And of course, how could I talk about my success without mentioning Penny? Penny is my most trusted friend and my constant companion. Penny is also a parrot, a very intelligent and well-spoken parrot to be fair. Penny has gotten me out of many tough situations and sometimes even gotten me into them. Either way, Penny has been instrumental in my success. So that's my story. I have many names around the world. Some call me Timmy the Globetrotter, the archaeologist extraordinaire, the amazing adventurer, the lucky explorer. But I like to keep things simple. You can call me Timmy the Traveler. I have had many remarkable adventures around the world, but let me tell you about that time I went to New York. Chapter 1: The Case of the Missing Sheep. My name is Timmy. I like to think that I'm something of a famous archaeologist. I've traveled all over the world in search of ancient treasures and for the thrill of adventure. My discoveries are in museums across the world. So, one might be wondering why I am here in Peru, crawling through a pig pen with pig poop all over me. Pig poop is not exactly a big archaeological discovery. "Smell like poop," my very observant parrot, Penny, pointed out. I know I smell like poop, even though I'm trying my hardest not to breathe. I coughed. For the past couple of weeks, I have been staying in a small hotel in Peru. Being an orphan, I don't really have a place where I call home. The entire world is home, I like to think. But really, I just stay wherever the cost is cheapest. The owners of the hotel, Roberto and Maria, are my friends, and they always give me a very generous discount. It is the perfect place to lie low while I wait for an adventure. Well, that explains why I'm in Peru, but doesn't really answer the question of why I'm crawling through a pig pen. I crawled my way through more dirt, mud, and pig poop and entered a large wooden barn. "We're inside," Penny yelped excitedly. She was perched on my back and letting me do all the hard work. "Quiet now," I whispered. "We don't know what's in here." Roberto and Maria don't have any children, but they have a lot of animals that they love and care for. One of them is a pink sheep named Rosa. She is one of their most prized possessions, as pink sheep are quite rare. Last night, Rosa went missing. A distraught Maria came knocking on my door this morning, and she was begging for my help. I'm no expert in animal tracking, but I had to try and help my friends. Penny and I got on the case and found a series of tracks at Rosa's sheep pen. Most interestingly, we found a set of human footprints along with Rosa's tracks. We figured out pretty quickly what the tracks meant. She was sheep-napped. Penny and I tracked the prints all the way to a barn on the outskirts of town. The only way inside was either through the front door, which means we would lose the element of surprise, or, you guessed it, through the pig pen on the side of the barn. And that's the reason why I'm covered in pig poop. The barn was too dark to make out anything. I could barely see, and lighting a torch would just give away our location to the sheep napper. I would have to let my eyes get used to the dark room instead. I crawled out of the pig pen and hid behind an old rusted chest. "Penny, take a fly around and tell me what you see," I whispered. "Aye, aye, Captain," Penny squawked and jumped off my shoulder and into the air. She took a couple rounds around the barn and landed right back on me. "Did you see Rosa and the kidnapper?" I asked. Penny nodded her little head yes. "In the middle. He's asleep." "Look at that. We found our culprit and our victim," I boasted as I snuck out of cover and started heading towards the middle of the barn. I bet my old friend Sherlock Holmes will be proud of our detective work today. I made my way closer to the middle of the barn and spotted what Penny saw. There was a portly, brutish man with an unkempt beard sleeping on a pile of hay bales. Next to him was a very afraid-looking Rosa leashed onto a pole. "Okay, Penny, I'll untie Rosa and we'll run out the front door before the scary man wakes up." Penny nodded to show she understood the plan. I slowly started walking up to Rosa. I made sure to watch where I stepped to ensure I didn't make any noise to wake the man up. The last thing I wanted to do was get into a fist fight with a kidnapper. In a few moments, I was within reaching distance to the leash. "Now to take it off." I reached out for the leash. "What is that smell?" the man grumbled, and then opened his eyes. The man's eyes grew wide as soon as he spotted me. He quickly reached into a hay bale and pulled out an iron axe. "Who are you?" the man growled as he stepped in front of Rosa and me. "Hello there. I was kind of hoping you would stay sleeping," I told him. "No man can sleep with that smell around him." The man took a big sniff and coughed. "What is that? Big poop?" "That doesn't matter. What matters is that you have in your possession a pink sheep that doesn't belong to you." "Did you crawl in here through the pig pen?" "If you must know, I did use my detective skills to track you to this barn, and I snuck in through the pig pen." "You know there's a front door, right?" "Yes, but then we would have lost the element of surprise," I explained. "You lost that anyway, except now you smell like literally poop." Okay, I get it. Can you stop talking about how I smell and start talking about the stolen sheep?" "The way you smell right now is the bigger crime." "Hey, at least I have an excuse for how I smell. What's yours?" I retorted. "How dare you? You little annoying, smelly stranger detective poophead." The man started stomping towards me. "I prefer Timmy," I said as I took a few steps back. Just then, Penny flew onto the man's arm and pecked at it. "Ow!" the man yelped and dropped his axe. Penny quickly grabbed the axe and started to fly off. Unfortunately for her, the axe was too heavy and she barely got a few blocks away before she crash-landed onto the ground. The man took a step towards her, but I quickly got in between. "I don't want to fight, just return Rosa," I warned him. "I am Gaston Butterfield, and I never give back what I steal." The brutish man pulled his arm back and swung right for me. The punch landed right on my face, and I could feel my nose get a little crooked. Ouch! I started thinking about how my face is going to be looking pretty weird for a couple days. "You're gonna regret that," Penny noted from the sidelines. "Dumb bird." Gaston pulled his arm back for another swing. This time, I was ready, and I quickly ducked to avoid getting struck on my face again. As I stood back up, I came up with an uppercut and knocked Gaston right under his chin. "Ow!" Gaston spit a broken tooth out and stared at me with more anger than before. "Sorry about that. If you hurry, maybe the village dentist might be able to put it back in." I offered him a way out. Gaston clearly didn't care because he went right for another swing. This time I backed up to quickly dodge the strike. Gaston put all his weight into that strike, and I could see him losing his balance after missing. I took my chance and smacked him on the back of his neck. Gaston stumbled a little, but managed to regain his balance. He swung backwards with a backhanded slap, but I easily sidestepped out of the way. I countered with a punch of my own and landed right on the side of his face. Taking the chance, I swung again with my other hand and knocked his head. Gaston shook his head in frustration and reached out for me with both hands. He grabbed onto my shoulders and tried to headbutt me, but I leaned my head to the side to avoid it. He tried once again, and once more I leaned my head out of the way. Penny, finally deciding to help out, flew to the top of Gaston's head and started pecking at it. "This is how you do it," Penny said in between the pecking. "Get off of me, bird," Gaston yelled. With an extremely powerful smack, Gaston tried to hit Penny, but Penny flew out at the last minute. So instead, Gaston smacked his own head and knocked himself out. "You're welcome," Penny stated as she flew to my side. I had it under control. "Your nose is crooked," Penny teased in response. Being an archaeologist adventurer, one would think combat isn't a skill you would need, but being able to hold my own in a fight has gotten me out of more than a few situations I found myself in. Having Penny around definitely gives me an edge. I put a fresh pile of hay under Gaston's head and headed towards Rosa. I undid her leash and gave her a big hug. Together the three of us made our way out of the barn. It was time to head back and take a long, long shower.